The views expressed on this program are those of the producers and individuals appearing on this program and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Sun Prairie Media Center staff, its video service providers, or the staff and elected officials of the City of Sun Prairie.
Hello and welcome to Real Reviews. My name is Jamison Rabbit, and this week I'm so happy to be joined by my good friend. You know him, you love him. He's the host of Sun Prairie News. It's Dan Presser.
Good to be here as always. I guess I'm playing like elf to your Santa.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, you know, we get a little closer to the season, we'll get you a little suit.
Well, thank you. That'd be great. Green. I want the elf suit. Okay, that's the one.
Well, with the green screen, I don't know if that works. We might have to
you're right.
superimpose it over you.
My head would be floating here.
Yeah. So we're here to talk about a bunch of movies. It's the holiday week. We had a short week to watch a bunch of movies.
A lot of movies, and the holiday movies are starting to hit.
They're really starting to roll in, and we are going to get into some Christmas films as we get later in the show. But first, I'm going to get us started with what we have on the marquee this week. There was a film that I saw called The Menu from director Mark Mylord. This stars Ralph Fiennes as Chef Slowick. The film opens really with 12 guests that have paid a very hefty price to board a boat and arrived on a private island where they will be served a very prestigious dinner. We have all kinds of people, a washed-up movie star played by John Leguizamo and his assistant. You got three rich kind of frat bros together, a food critic and her sycophant editor. But also in there is a regular couple, Tyler and Margot, played by Nicholas Hoult and Anya Taylor-Joy. Tyler is a kind of a snooty food snob who is obsessed with Chef Slowick and everything he does. He watches all his TV shows. He is a fanboy all the way of this guy. And he's brought along Margot, who obviously doesn't fit in. She's not like anyone else. She doesn't appreciate the experience or the food, and she begins to infuriate Tyler because she doesn't appreciate it the way he expects her to. So for most of these people, life is about perception and fooling themselves and others into thinking that they're all very important as they kind of spew their BS during this meal. And everything in the island and in the restaurant is very particular. And the chef is demanding of everyone and everything to be just right. He's like Gordon Ramsay turned up to 11. He won't let the guests photograph the food. He demands they appreciate the journey that he's about to take them on. He's kind of a general. He's like a General Patton, and his crew of sous chefs is his army. They snap to it when he claps his hands. And he has a head assistant, Elsa, there, played by Hong Chow, who kind of mans the dining room and executes his every order, which gets a little hairy as the movie goes along. And the film takes us on this journey, course by course. It takes us through first course, second course, and the courses are all lovingly photographed. And everyone reacts differently to this experience and these expectations that are put on them by this chef. Some people are faking appreciation because they just assume that's what you're supposed to do. They don't know what's going on. Some people are being brutally honest about things. Like there's a bread course where the chef decides you don't get bread. That's the course. How about that? And some people go, oh, that's brilliant. And others go, hey, I want bread. And that doesn't work out so well.
Clothes, right? But,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Nicholas Holt's character of Tyler is kind of exhausting because he is the fanboy who's like, it's brilliant. He didn't give us bread during the bread course. So how, you know. But this is all a game. And the chef starts revealing guests' secrets with the food. We see at one point there's tortillas that have very deep secrets that each guest has, individual secrets embedded on the tortillas, printed on the tortillas. And we're told partway into the film that at the end of this film is inevitable, and there's no escaping what's about to happen to everyone. And we just kind of need to figure out why the end is going to happen the way it is. This chef is obsessed with Margot because, as he says, he doesn't know who she is, why she's there. She's not supposed to be there. There was another woman who was supposed to be having dinner with Tyler, but for some reason Margot's there, and she's thrown all the plans off for the chef. And soon tragedy begins to befall some of them, and as tragedy befalls them, Tyler just keeps eating the food, and things are going crazy around him.
So did you walk out of this feeling hungry or what?
I did, actually. There's some beautiful food. And the food. There's a cheeseburger in this movie that made me go home and make a cheeseburger. Like, wow. It's a film about people kind of really deluding themselves into feeling self-important.
Okay.
And that kind of is what pays what brings about the end of this movie is all these people who aren't true to themselves, and a chef, one man who is tired of trying to satisfy people who don't appreciate it, will never be satisfied, don't appreciate what he's providing for them, and he's done trying anymore.
So is the whole movie like he's doing a show too then? Or?
Well, he introduces each course with a story and kind of taking why this is important. And unfortunately, nobody really appreciates what he's doing. Okay. And the courses, as they get a little deeper, they get darker. Things start happening that I don't want to get into, but people die. Ralph Fiennes is his intensity in this movie is terrifying because he's kind of got this gentility to him, but behind it is this boiling rage in his eyes. It's kind of terrifying. And Elsa, she's the one who really puts the fear of the guests in the dining room, the head sous chef or whatever. It was just, I really enjoyed it. Anya Taylor-Joy is really good. She has some great moments with Ralph Fiennes, the two of them playing off each other. It's a really dark comedy.
I mean, some fantastic actors in this show. Yeah.
Lots of them.
And a lot of fans of hers that just go to this movie to see her act.
Yes. And she was great. She didn't let down. It's kind of a mirror to what some horrible people are. It's people getting just desserts.
So would you call it a horror movie or a psychological thriller?
It's more of a psychological thriller. Okay. I mean, there's some gore in here
at
moments, but it's more psychological thriller as you're trying to unravel what's going on and why. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. And there's some good-looking food in here. You know? So
you walk out hungry. That's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly. So I ended up giving The Menu. I gave it 3.5 out of 5 stars. It's an enjoyable film.
So definitely wanted to go see. I didn't get to see it, so I wanted to hear what you had to say.
Exactly.
About it,
it's a busy week, but I recommend it. So you get around to it, go check out The Menu.
We will. Holiday viewing, I guess.
Yeah, right. Right after Thanksgiving. Go check it out. All right, let's move on to what else we have on the marquee this week. It's a big movie. It's a film from director Maria Schrader. It is called She Said. She Said is a powerful film taking us into the investigation by the New York Times that brought down Harvey Weinstein and helped ignite a movement. Stars Carey Mulligan as Megan Twohy and Zoe Kazan as Jodi Kantor. These are real ladies, two investigative journalists responsible for the tireless investigation, refusing to accept no as they chase down leads. The film it opens with candidate Donald Trump and his infamous recording about how he abuses power with women and spins that into the Harvey Weinstein story, coming off the complaints from some women about what he did as one of the most powerful men in Hollywood. And these two journalists throw themselves into bringing truth to light, talking to women who lost their careers for spurning his advances, actresses getting blackballed, many too terrified or traumatized to even speak to these journalists, threatened by powerful people, and frustrated when nobody listened to them for decades as they made complaints about Harvey. But now, for some, decades too late, come these two women wanting to listen, wanting to expose the truth, but they need evidence. They need names on the record. They need documents, something, because of cash settlements that Harvey brokered with past accusers, many of these women legally can't speak up. And this is a frustration that Twohy and Jodi run into. And it builds a nice tension as we get secret recordings, clandestine meetings, and a deadline that they're facing, and the New Yorker also running a parallel investigation. And these two ladies and everyone at the New York Times involved in this are trying to break down this carefully built fortress that Harvey Weinstein had built to shush and buy off or humiliate women who dared to say no or dared to speak up against him. And so many people around him and in Hollywood were complicit, quietly complicit in it all.
So many enablers. And that's the part of this movie that, I enjoyed this movie immensely. I love the newsroom stuff.
Yes.
I love
a good investigative journalism movie.
All that investigative stuff going on. Just the bravery that type of work takes, I think. But that's what really sticks with you at some point. It's like, Harvey Weinstein eventually goes down, but it was a whole network and may still be out there that
absolutely
enabled him to do this for decades.
Yeah, and it's a system. It's a system that protects abusers, and you realize that it's no surprise. I mean, it's not just Hollywood. It's in politics. It's in the workplace. It's in the church. It happens everywhere. And a network that protects abusers and allows victims to go decades of yelling into the wind or being terrified to even speak out because they know I can't take down this powerful man.
And even the fact that they were able to make this movie now is somewhat miraculous, which is, I don't like to throw that word around, but just that they were able to make it now, and I'm sure there was probably still some ramifications to make a movie like this.
And this is a true story. It's not a fictional story. It's not characters who have changed their names. We have Hollywood actresses putting their name, their face, their voice to this. You have Gwyneth Paltrow putting her voice to this. You have
Ashley Judd.
Ashley Judd telling her story. You have many of them putting their names and faces on the record for this. So that makes it more powerful, that it isn't just like a fictional account that we all kind of know is talking. No, it's just heart-wrenching to listen to these horrific stories these women tell. And as the journalists go out and they're getting these stories and you hear different versions of very similar stories, it doesn't get easier to listen to what a monster this man was.
And you said it built that tension, and you're really on their side. You get on their side as you're going because you want somebody to go on the record. You're really sitting there hoping somebody's going to go on the record. And even though it eventually happens, you're watching this movie thinking, somebody has to go on the record.
That's the mark of a great movie, though.
Right.
I know the end of this movie.
Exactly.
And even then, I was tense through it all because they need a smoking gun at some point, right? They need someone to go on the record. They get a memo in this film from one of the ladies that helps them kind of really advance it. But the editor keeps saying, Dean keeps saying, we need more evidence. We need more. We need something. And you're going, man, I hope they can get it. In the back of my mind, going, I know they do. We finally got him taken down, but these women really helped bring the world crashing down around Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah. And great acting jobs by both of them. Jodie Cantor, Zoe Kazan, and Carey Mulligan, fantastic. Both just really played well off of each other. And you kind of had the tough, go get 'em type of reporter, and the one who's a little bit more laid back but still tough underneath it all.
Yeah,
just really great characterizations. And Dean Beckett, the editor,
the actual editor, yeah.
Boy, if you don't want to be like him after that movie, I mean, if you
in his interactions with Harvey over the phone, because he's dealt with Harvey for a long time, back and forth over stories, and how he pulls no punches with him, and then Patricia Clarkson playing the other. I mean, she was great too, as the one who's kind of ushering this story and helping guide these two women who are going out there and just beating their heads against the wall, trying to get something of substance to break this story.
And you see how hard it is on their families, too. I mean, these are two women who are devoting really much of their lives when they have young children at home and husbands at home.
Very young families.
Young families, and they're doing this because it's really important to them and to, the daughters they have and the future generations of women.
They're slaying a monster.
Yeah.
It's really incredible. These are actual heroes. I mean, I felt like when I walked out, it was a great David and Goliath story, even though David has the New York Times behind him.
Right.
But it's still because Harvey Weinstein was untouchable in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And that's a really tight-knit system and has been from the early days of Hollywood.
Yeah.
Those big guys are protected from all kinds of things. And it's pretty remarkable, these women who found the courage to stand up and fight. And it's a really important story, and it started a movement that started bringing down a lot of people.
Yeah,
I
enjoyed
this is what kicked off the Me Too movement that really started exposing a lot of horrible monsters out there.
Right, and there was one, I don't know what the actress's name was, and I know we're probably got to get moving on here, but the actress who played the Irish.
Yes. Oh, I don't have in my notes.
A fantastic performance by her in a very small.
That was one of my favorite moments.
Absolutely.
There was two different people that they went and spoke to, that Zoe Kazan spoke to, and they kind of sat and really just revealed their stories, and it was jaw-dropping. They were great.
Teary. I mean, it just brought tears to your eyes. And like you said before, once they got that person to go on the record, and you felt the relief of the reporters and the rest of the people, it just brought tears to your eyes. It was. I really enjoyed this movie.
Truly. Yeah, I hate saying that I love this movie, but I do.
Yeah.
It's like not a movie like, I love this, but It does. Yeah, it's pretty great. So, what did you end up giving She Said?
So I gave it a 4, and it's a heavy 4. You
Yeah.
know, I probably would have gone even higher, but it's got to be almost perfect to get to 5 for me.
I agree. I gave it a 4.5. I felt pretty good about that. I'm a sucker for great investigative journalist movies.
Yeah,
you know,
all
All the President's
President's
Men.
Men.
There's so many great ones. I think this is a really interesting one as well, and it's a great story that isn't that old. It's a
Right.
pretty fresh story
Right.
still.
Yeah.
And so, I really enjoyed it. We both highly recommend it, and I'm assuming we'll be talking about this movie next year when we're talking about Oscar predictions and such.
Oh, I
think
would
this
think
movie's
so,
going to
for
have
sure.
a lot of heavy hitters on that.
Yep.
So. Let's move on to what we have on our streaming spotlight, sir.
Streaming
Take it away.
spotlight.
What do we have?
So we go from very serious to a lot of fun and a very old story
Yes.
as well. We're talking about Spirited, which is, of course, a modern take on the Dickens classic. And it is starring Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds. Will Ferrell plays the ghost of Christmas Present, and Ryan Reynolds plays Clint Briggs, who is a high-powered marketing mogul who uses fear to motivate. It's very, very in tune with today's marketing in the
Yes.
political world, and that's kind of where he cut his teeth, was in the political world and building fear. In fact, there's a great scene in here where he whips up the Christmas growers of America to build fear about plastic Christmas trees.
Of course, yeah.
Only a genius could do that. And this is the story of Scrooge, obviously, and Clint Briggs in this case is the unredeemable Scrooge. They don't call him Scrooge, but it's definitely a Christmas Carol. And Christmas Present, played by Will Ferrell, chooses to take on Clint Briggs because he's an unredeemable, and he is feeling a little bit like he's not making a difference in his world. He's got a lot of cases that he's solved over the years. He's been Christmas Present, Christmas Future, and then there's Christmas Past. They've been going out and doing the Scrooge thing on people for hundreds of years now, and he's feeling a little bit like his job's not fulfilling anymore.
Yeah.
So he picks up Clint Briggs because he's unredeemable, and he wants to make sure he can redeem him. I went into this movie and I didn't know it was a musical.
Oh, okay.
And so when they started singing, I was like, well, this is interesting.
Well, and they address this in the movie.
Yes.
Because Jacob Marley, who runs their corporation,
Yes.
every time there's a beat of a note, he's like, "Oh, we're not.
Yeah,
doing
we're
a
not
song
going to sing again, are we? That's what I enjoyed that about this movie, where they made fun about it being a musical, and there
Yeah.
were some fantastic production numbers in this.
There were.
This was a highly produced musical production show. There's one right there. I think
Yeah.
probably one of the highlights of this show for me was the number called "Good Afternoon," where "Good
when they're in
Afternoon"
Dickensian time?
It's very
That's pretty funny.
they go back into Dickensian time, and it's very much kind of like a Master of the House from
Yes.
Les Mis, and
Yes.
they all know the number, and the joke at the end of it is
We all knew this.
we all knew this. How do we know the steps? And I was just kind of playing along with you. So I kind of like that when
Yeah.
they make it's kind of got that Hope Crosby Road to Morocco
Yeah.
feel about it. But so anyway. I'm kind of getting off the track here,
No,
but
that's all right.
the story goes on, and we all know the story of Scrooge, and we all know that Christmas Present, Christmas Past, and Christmas Future are trying to reform this unredeemable person and make him make better choices and become a better person.
Mm-hmm.
And we, along the way, learned that Clint Briggs, played by Ryan Reynolds, had some moments in his life that he made choices that probably would have turned his life in a different direction,
Right.
just like
Everyone.
Scrooge. And I don't know if I want to give away who Christmas Present is.
Yeah, let's hold on to that.
Let's hold on to that. But
Yeah.
it's a very interesting.
I like that twist.
It's
though.
a nice twist, and we've all seen Christmas Carol probably dozens of times, some of us hundreds of times, and we've seen many versions of this. But this was a nice twist on. You had actually what was happening along the way was while Christmas Present is trying to redeem Clint Briggs. Briggs is trying to redeem Christmas Present.
Yeah.
So it was a nice twist on it, and of course, you pretty much know what's going to happen in the end, but there is a little bit of a twist at the end as well.
Yeah, I'm a sucker. I think it's tough to screw up A Christmas Carol. I think it's just an incredible story.
It's a great story, yeah.
Unless you're
Timeless.
Robert Zemeckis. I didn't like his weird 3D Jim Carrey one.
That's why I stopped watching,
That one
actually.
creeped me out.
Yeah.
But the base storyline is solid for this.
Yeah.
And I also went in going, my tolerance for Will Ferrell and Ryan Reynolds is at its all-time low right now.
Really?
Especially Ryan Reynolds.
Okay, yeah.
It's at an all-time low of I've seen him do the same thing too many times.
Yep.
I found myself enjoying this. I mean, Will Ferrell has a little Christmas cachet with Buddy the Elf.
Did he just become the king of Christmas movies?
I mean, he's got some good ones. I thought the music was good. I did love when they went back to Dickensian times. I couldn't pinpoint what I liked about this so much. I ended up watching it twice.
Yeah.
My wife and I enjoyed it, and I couldn't pinpoint it. Like I'm thinking, this isn't going to be like in my Christmas rotation movies?
I think it will be in mine.
I find myself really enjoying it.
I think this is one I'm going to go back to in future years because I think, despite what you said about Ryan Reynolds and Will Ferrell, they both have this charisma.
They work together,
and together their charisma really works. And actually, when they spend a lot of the movie singing to each other,
yes.
And knowing what those two are like, I think part of the fun was they were probably having a lot of fun doing. And when you see two people performing and having fun while they're doing it, that makes it. There's just something that draws you in. I think so. That worked well, even though they're not accomplished singers. They did a heck of a job on the dance numbers. I thought
I had fun with it.
It was a lot of fun, and it's one of those movies. I think you walk out going, I enjoyed that more than I thought I was going to, and it's probably one I'm going to revisit at Christmas.
Right, and it's playing in theaters. It's also streaming on Apple TV Plus, so you can check it out either way. But it's a fun Christmas movie.
And I get to give it a number first, right?
Dan gives it a score.
I gave it a 3, and it's a heavy 3 again. I'm on my heavies right now.
That's all right.
Yeah,
that's all right. I went a little heavier than you again.
Wow.
I give it a 3.5.
Okay.
I watched it twice in a week that it was very busy for me with movies.
Yeah, I think it was
still
fun.
Found myself enjoying it. The second time, just put it on in the background, have a good time with it.
You felt good about it, yeah.
Absolutely. Speaking of feel-good movies, let's move on to our last film on our streaming spotlight. What do we have?
We have The Wonder, directed by Sebastian Lelio, I'm not exactly sure how to pronounce that. And it stars Florence Pugh as Nurse Lib Wright, and Kyla Lord Cassidy as Anna, Tom Burke as William Byrne, and a couple other folks in the movie as well that I can't pronounce their names. But anyway, this is the complete opposite of Spirited. This is a movie that you have to devote yourself to watching. This is about an English nurse sent to watch a girl who hasn't eaten in 4 months in a small Irish village, and she hasn't eaten in 4 months, and of course, this is the mid-1800s, and at that point, the villagers, led by the father in town, Father Thaddeus, and a committee of other men, of course, they're all men on this committee who are
kind of
self-appointed.
a Puritan village.
Exactly. They hire her to be a watcher of this child, along with a nun. So she's the English nurse, and then there's a local nun who is also watching this young girl 24 hours a day, every day of the week for 2 weeks, because they want to find out if this is in fact a miracle, because it's drawing people to see her.
They want to believe that it's a miracle.
They want to believe it's a miracle.
Yeah.
And so they, in some ways they got the English nurse because she will probably be a good scapegoat at the end of the watch, and the nun, of course, is doing her due diligence as a nun.
Right.
And it goes along. I mean, this is one of those movies. It's really dark, first of all, and dark the way I'm talking about lit. When you watch
it's dark in tone, and it's dark in
exactly.
In the look of the film.
And you really are drawn in by the characterization of Nurse Lib by Florence Pugh. I mean, this is a movie, she really drives this movie. She's hard not to watch. She's fantastic on screen right from the beginning. I didn't necessarily like how they started and ended this movie. It seemed unnecessary to me because it's a device. It's kind of cinema verite where they start backstage and then you're suddenly in this.
I didn't care for that.
I didn't care for that. And then the first scene you see then is her, Nurse Lib, on a boat eating. And she's eating very heartily, and it's the sounds of her eating, and she just looks off into the distance, and you just know this is going to be an intense movie, and it really carries out throughout the movie. And she finds along the way that, in fact, and it's maybe not quite as specific as you would like it to be, but she finds along the way that the girl's mother is actually feeding her via her mouth with kisses in the morning and at the end of the day.
Not the manna from heaven.
Not the manna from heaven that she's being told. And you also find out that there was some terrible thing that happened to this girl.
That's the thing is Anna's reasoning about why she should suffer and die is just heartbreaking. When she finally reveals it. And it's also the reason for the adults to allow. The adults are allowing this girl to slowly die once her food is cut off. And it's infuriating because they just want to believe that it's a miracle.
Right, and this is exactly that.
She thinks she needs to be punished.
It's a movie about, first of all, strong women and women who are able to, whether it's Anna, the girl who's fasting for 4 months, or the nurse who's trying to get her out of this fast, or the mother who's trying to force her into the fast.
Yeah.
All of these women who have these powerful, powerful psyches, but it's also about people believing what they want to believe. In some ways.
And Florence Pugh gives a great, very subtle performance. I love, she comes in very confident. She's seen a lot of things at war.
Right, she's been in a war in the Crimea. Right?
And so she comes in, she's very confident. And there's a couple of moments, very subtle in her, where she realizes she's in over her head with this.
Yeah.
She's in a village that doesn't want to believe her,
right.
that is possibly doing something horrible,
yes.
something horrific. And when she gives her findings to them, they tell her that can't be right. Yeah. And they turn on her. And so the way she changes, and then the way she interworks with this girl, and she's like, at first she wants to find out the truth, and then she realizes that truth might kill this girl.
Right.
Now I need to find a way to save this girl, and it's a great performance. And Florence Pugh is one of the best young actresses we have, and this was a return to working with the director, Sebastian Lelio. The first film I saw her in was a film called Lady Macbeth, which I believe is one of her first films. She was tremendous. It was basically her movie to carry.
Yeah.
It was also set in same time period, you know?
Yep.
And she blew me away, and that was the first time I saw her. I said, I got to watch this lady. And she's great. And then she returns, and with the same director. I thought it was great. Her and the young girl, Kelly Lord Cassidy. I thought she was great as this young girl.
And is that her mother playing her mother?
Real mother,
yes. Her real mother playing
her
mother in this movie, who was also very good, I thought.
Yeah.
In a very small.
And Tom
role.
Burke is this guy, Will Byrne, who we didn't even mention, but he has a reason. He's dealt with this tragedy during the Great Famine and watched his own family starve to death, and that's a horrible story to hear about.
Right.
And he kind of offers the support and the way for Florence Pugh's character to kind of process what's going on as she's unsure.
He's like background information on these people, his people.
Yeah, exactly.
She's able to find out from him why they're like they are. And you do have you feel sorry for them a little bit because they are living these very hard lives, and you understand why they lean so hard on their faith and things like that. But it is, as you said, it's heartbreaking to see a young girl being basically sacrificed.
Yes.
To make amends for something terrible that happened to her.
That she had
she really had
choice
no
in.
choice in. And fortunately, Nurse Lib does come up with a solution. And I don't want to tell folks what that is, but it's a great twist.
It's very satisfying. Yeah. All right, sir. What did you end up giving The Wonder?
I gave The Wonder 3.5, and again, I could have probably gone to 4, and I think I only gave it a 3.5. I'll be honest. I watched this at home streaming, and it's hard to see on the screen sometimes, and I just thought I wish there would have been a little bit more visual friendliness to this movie. But there's some beautiful shots in the show.
I gave it 4. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. Florence Pugh is just incredible. Just find what she's done and enjoy it.
It's worth watching.
Usually the best part of anything she does.
Agree.
All right, let's take a look ahead really quickly at what is coming soon the weekend of December 2nd, rather. We have Violent Night. Santa Claus turns into John Wick, basically, when a group of mercenaries attack a wealthy family. Stars David Harbour as Santa Claus, John Leguizamo as Scrooge, and Christmas favorite Beverly D'Angelo also in this movie. Very excited for this. We also have Women Talking, Sarah Polley's new film about a group of women in an isolated religious community trying to reconcile a brutal truth. Stars Rooney Mara, Frances McDormand, Jessie Buckley, and Claire Foy. We have, spoiler alert, Jim Parsons and Ben Aldridge star in a film about a relationship that takes a tragic turn when one of them is diagnosed with terminal cancer. We have Darby and the Dead. Darby suffered a near-death experience as a child, which has led to her running a business as an adult Counseling Local Spirits. That's over on Hulu. And then Scrooge, A Christmas Carol, over on Netflix, a supernatural time-traveling musical adaptation of the classical Christmas story.
Yet another one.
Check it out. Before we leave, we want to thank our sponsor, Marcus Theaters, the Palace here in Sun Prairie, for sponsoring this program. Next week, I'm going to be talking about movies like The Fabelmans, Bones and All, Devotion, and Strange World, and I'll be joined by Steve Sabaki for all of that. But of course, I want to thank you, sir.
Glad to be
for
here.
joining me. It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
And I encourage you to check out Sun Prairie News, find out all the things that are happening here in the town from this guy right here.
And see his quick hit, too.
Ooh, Check that out. You already know what I think about movies. All right, let's get out of here. Until next week, though, I'm Jamison.
And I'm Dan.
Thanks for watching.